Before we begin, let me tell you something strange. Sometimes a single moment, a single mistake, a single wrong door opened in the middle of the night can chain two lives together in ways neither destiny nor logic can explain. And what happened to Emily Johnson on the rooftop of that Seoul tower was no accident. Some say the city chose her. Others say the most dangerous man in Korea had already marked her fate long before she realized she'd stepped into the wrong world. But before I tell you what really happened that night, if you're watching this and you believe no woman, no matter where she comes from, should ever be controlled, manipulated, or claimed without her consent, then make sure to like and subscribe. And tell me in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? Because where Emily came from shaped her strength, and where she ended up nearly cost her everything. Now let me take you into the first night, the night that changed her life forever. It started with rain, the soft kind that makes neon lights blur into watercolor streaks across Seoul's skyline, and Emily walking alone beneath her umbrella, humming a song from home that reminded her who she was. A Black South African architect in training, ambitious, brilliant, and determined, she had come to Korea for a prestigious internship with one of the top design firms. Her peers envied her. Her mentors praised her. And yet, tonight she felt small among the glass towers. Little did she know, the man who rolled half those towers had been watching her from afar long before this night. It began with a wrong turn. Emily had followed her coworkers to celebrate a project win, but after too many loud bars and too much Korean soju, she politely slipped away, searching for a quiet space to breathe. She wandered into a private elevator, thinking it led to another rooftop lounge open to the public. But when the elevator doors opened, she stepped into something that didn't feel like Seoul at all. Dozens of men in black suits lined the perimeter of a rooftop illuminated only by lanterns painted with symbols she didn't recognize. The air smelled faintly of incense, thick with tension. She froze. The moment she did, 20 heads turned toward her, all at once. A foreign woman. A stranger. An intruder. Stop, a guard barked in Korean, rushing toward her. Emily's heart raced, her umbrella slipping from her fingers as strong hands grabbed her by both arms. She opened her mouth to explain, to apologize, to say she was lost, but before a word passed her lips, the rooftop doors opened again, and everyone fell silent. He walked in. The man every businessman in Asia feared. The man every politician whispered about. The man the news called dangerous and his enemies called untouchable. Kang Jun-seo, CEO of the Kang Syndicate. He wore a black suit tailored so sharply it could cut glass, his expression unreadable, his presence a storm wrapped in silk. His eyes landed on Emily like a blow. They narrowed, confused for a moment, then something darker flickered beneath. Recognition? Curiosity? Calculation? Bring her here, he ordered softly, but the authority in his tone made the guards move instantly. Emily was pulled forward into the center of a circle she hadn't realized she'd walked into. A ceremonial circle. A ritual. Men in traditional robes held scrolls. Guests in suits watched with deadly interest. And beneath a glass canopy, a low table held a ring, heavy, carved, ancient. Emily's voice trembled. I'm sorry. I'm not supposed to be here. I just pressed the wrong. I know exactly why you're here. Jun-seo interrupted, stepping closer, his gaze traveling over her face with unnerving precision. You came at the perfect moment. The guards tightened their grip. Emily's panic rose. Please let me go. I don't want any trouble. Jun-seo stopped inches from her, his voice lowering. Trouble found you the moment you stepped into my world. He turned to an elder holding the scroll. Begin. The elder bowed. But, Chairman, the bride is here. The elder hesitated, scanning Emily's face. She is foreign. A murmur rippled through the rooftop. Jun-seo's jaw tightened. She is my choice. His voice cut through the night like a blade. Emily shook her head rapidly. Wait, no, I'm not. I'm not your anything. Please, I'm just an intern. I don't even know your name. Jun-seo looked directly into her eyes. You don't need to. The elder unrolled the scroll. Lantern flames trembled. Guards closed ranks. The city roared far below, unaware that on this rooftop a life was about to be rewritten. Come Jun Seo, the elder recited, do you present your chosen partner for the binding oath of the Kang lineage? I do, he answered without hesitation. And do you accept the responsibility to protect her with your life and claim her as your legal spouse, bound under the oldest contract law of our family? I do. Emily shook her head violently. Stop this. I do not agree to anything. Her voice echoed across the rooftop, bold and terrified and breaking all at once. But Jun Seo stepped behind her, his hand brushing her shoulder, not soft, not gentle, but steadying. Emily Johnson, he said quietly, using her full name like he had known it forever. If you walk away now, you will die. Her blood ran cold. The elder's eyes widened. The guard stiffened. And for the first time, Emily noticed shadows on distant rooftops, red dots glinting. Snipers. Not aimed at him. Aimed at her. Why me? She whispered. Jun Seo leaned closer, his breath warm against her ear. Because when I chose you, my enemies assumed you were carrying the evidence meant to destroy them. Her heart thudded painfully. Evidence? I don't have anything. They don't know that. His tone softened, but only slightly. But if you complete this ceremony, you gain my protection. If you don't, they will eliminate you before sunrise. The elder lifted the ring. The rooftop held its breath. And as the ring slid onto Emily's trembling finger, the city below glittered like a witness to her downfall. The ceremony ended. The guards released her. But the contracts signed in ink older than Seoul itself did not. Emily stood frozen, staring at her hand, at the ring that didn't belong to her, at the man who had just claimed her without permission, without warning, without mercy. Jun Seo stepped forward, his voice quiet but absolute. From this moment forward, he said, your life belongs to me. And that is the only way you survive. And as the rooftop doors shut behind them, the storm finally broke. Rain poured down. Neon flickered. The city trembled. And Emily realized the truth. She wasn't lost. She had been chosen. Emily didn't sleep the first night, not because she didn't try, but because every time her eyes closed she heard his voice again, low and dangerous. Your life belongs to me. The words replayed like a haunting chorus as she sat in the corner of the penthouse suite he'd confined her to, her knees pulled to her chest, her breath trembling while the rain hammered against the floor-to-ceiling windows. She'd worked so hard to get here, to win an internship, to build a career, to blaze a trail in a field where she already stood out as a black woman in a country that didn't always know what to make of her boldness. And now, suddenly, she was a wife? A target? A pawn in someone else's war? Morning arrived with no warmth, only the cold, sterile hush of luxury. The door opened without a knock, and Jun Seo walked in wearing the same sharp suit as the night before, as if he hadn't slept either, or as if he never slept at all. A small team followed him, a doctor, a bodyguard, and a woman with a tablet wearing the expression of someone who knew she worked for a man nobody dared defy. Emily shot to her feet. If you take one more step, I'll scream. Jun Seo paused, his eyes scanning her, tired, furious, terrified, proud. You can scream, he said softly, but this floor is soundproof, and the security team outside will only enter if I call them. Her throat tightened with helpless rage. So that's it? You kidnap me and pretend this is normal. His jaw flexed once, just barely. I didn't kidnap you. I saved your life. I didn't ask you to, she snapped. I don't want to be tied to you. I want my life back. He gestured to the blinds, and with a flick of his finger the windows darkened to a projection screen. A series of images appeared, grainy surveillance shots from the night before, distant rooftops, shimmering red sniper dots aimed at her head. Emily's mouth went dry as the camera zoomed in on one of the shooters, masked, armed, positioned with professional precision. These were not my men, Jun Seo said quietly. They were sent by a rival syndicate who believed I trusted you with something valuable. Emily forced herself to look away. But you didn't give me anything. Why would they think I matter? Because, he said, stepping closer, I made them believe you do. Confusion knitted her brow. Why? His expression shifted subtle, but there. A flicker of something vulnerable beneath the armor. Because I needed someone untouched by power. Someone clean. Someone no syndicate, no politician, no corporate dynasty could predict. He lifted a sleek black USB drive between two fingers. This, he said, contains the evidence that could burn 3 conglomerates and 2 criminal families to the ground. I stole it. And they think I gave it to you. Emily stared at the drive, her voice barely a whisper. Then give it to the police. The police are owned, he replied. Prosecutors, judges, departments, bought like stocks long before you ever arrived in Korea. Then, why me? She asked again, softer this time. His gaze lowered for a moment, and for the first time he looked almost human. Because you were unexpected. Because you don't belong to any of them. Because they cannot buy you. Because your presence disrupts a system that has been stable for decades. They won't be able to read you, predict you, or manipulate you. He paused, as if choosing words he wasn't used to sharing. And, because the moment the ritual circle saw your face, every camera on that rooftop glitched. Every sensor malfunctioned. Every system collapsed. She frowned. What are you talking about? You walked into a room built on ancient rules, he murmured, and every rule broke. She didn't understand, and he didn't elaborate. Instead, he handed the USB to his advisor and turned back to her. For now, you must stay here. It's the only secure place I control outside my main compound. She crossed her arms tightly, guarding herself with stubbornness. I'm not staying anywhere with you. His response was painfully calm. If you walk out that door, Emily, you won't reach the elevator before someone ends your life. A tremor went through her body, not of fear alone, but of fury. You act like you're my savior, but you're the reason I'm in danger to begin with. Yes, he said softly. I am. She blinked. He rarely admitted anything. But I am also the only one capable of keeping you alive now. She took a shaky breath. So what? I'm just supposed to accept being your wife, he finished, almost gently. The word hit her like a weight. I'm not your wife, she hissed. Your ritual isn't legal outside your twisted world. He stepped closer, his voice dropping into something cold, ancient. Emily Johnson, the contract you signed, I didn't sign anything. Your fingerprint on the ceremonial scroll is a signature, he said. It binds you to me under the King legacy law, a law older than the Korean constitution itself. Recognized by our courts. Protected by our alliances. Her blood ran cold. So, you're telling me I'm legally married to you? You're telling yourself, he responded. You felt it. She hated that a part of her had. She opened her mouth to snap back, but then the penthouse lights flickered. A shrill alarm burst through the air. The bodyguards raced to the windows. Chairman, one of them said urgently, they found us. Jun Seo moved to Emily instantly, his grip closing around her wrist, not harsh, but unshakable. Stay behind me. No, she whispered, her heart pounding. You said I was unpredictable. Let me prove it. He turned to her slowly, eyes searching hers, assessing, calculating whether she was brave or suicidal. But before he could answer, bullets cracked through the glass. Emily screamed, ducking as shards exploded across the floor. The bodyguards retaliated, shots echoing across the city as chaos erupted. Alarms blazed. Smoke filled the air. And in the middle of the storm, Jun Seo pulled Emily into his chest, shielding her with his body as he whispered the words that terrified her more than the gunfire. This is only the beginning. They will not stop until either you die, or I do. Smoke still drifted through the shattered penthouse windows hours after the attack, curling up like ghosts whispering a truth Emily could no longer ignore. Nothing about her life would ever be the same again. Emergency teams had swept the building, security had locked down 3 surrounding blocks, but the damage was already etched into her pulse, beating with a new, unwelcome rhythm of fear and clarity. She sat on the edge of the bed, bandaging a cut on her arm, while Jun Seo stood silently across the room, staring out at the city he once controlled with an iron fist. Tonight, that city had dared to shoot at him. Or rather, shoot at her. The thought made her chest tighten in a way she despised. She didn't want to care. She didn't want to feel anything for the man who had dragged her into this nightmare. But she did. She cared that he stood too still, too quiet, like a storm holding its breath. Finally, he spoke. They weren't after the USB, he said, his voice low, almost fragile. They were after you. Emily swallowed hard. Why me? I didn't ask for any of this. Because, he murmured, turning toward her with eyes that looked more tired than dangerous, your leverage. And the Kong dynasty has more enemies than you can imagine. The word dynasty caught her ear. Your family. This ritual you forced me into. Was that your idea or theirs? A shadow passed across his face. My mother's. Even his voice seemed to flinch at the mention of her. She believes I need a wife to seal alliances. A political marriage. A puppet marriage. She wanted to choose someone else. He paused. I chose you for protection. But not just mine. Emily frowned. What do you mean? Jun Seo walked closer, each step precise, controlled, like a man used to navigating minefields. My mother plans to expand the syndicate's influence using the old laws. She wants to resurrect the full power of the Kang lineage contracts, which means she needs the sacred marriage system to remain unchallenged. And that involves me how? Emily whispered. He exhaled slowly. Because the moment you stepped into that ritual circle, the contract reacted. She blinked. Reacted? It's a piece of paper. Not to us, he said quietly. The scroll is an artifact. It dates back centuries. It only reacts when someone compatible enters the oath circle, someone the Kang lineage deems worthy of a true binding. His gaze locked onto hers. It reacted to you, not to anyone else. Not even the woman my mother had groomed for the role. Emily felt her stomach drop. Reacted how? The ink glowed. He said it like a confession. Only for a moment. Only for us. My mother saw it. She panicked. Emily's voice trembled. Why would she panic? Because, he murmured, stepping even closer, it meant the lineage chose you. Not her candidate. Not her plans. You. For a moment, the world seemed to tilt. Emily felt the air tighten between them, charged with something unfamiliar: fear, disbelief, a thread of fate she never asked for. This is insane, she whispered. I'm not part of your culture, your bloodline, That's why it chose you, he interrupted. You have no ties to our corruption. No loyalty to any dynasty. You can't be bought. You're pure. She recoiled slightly. Don't romanticize this. I didn't want any of it. He nodded once, something pained flickering behind his eyes. I know. Before she could respond, the penthouse door slammed open. Four armed guards rushed in, flanking a woman whose presence froze the room colder than the night whined through the broken glass. Jun Seo's mother. Immaculate in white silk. Diamond hairpins glinting like weapons. A face both beautiful and merciless. She didn't look at Jun Seo. She looked directly at Emily, as though assessing a threat standing on two legs. So, Mrs. Kang said calmly, this is the foreigner who dares to disrupt a dynasty. Emily stood up. Slowly. Her pulse pounded, but her spine straightened. Mrs. Kang's gaze sharpened. You should not be alive. Jun Seo stepped between them in an instant. Mother, silence, she snapped, not looking at him. You have shamed me enough tonight. Her eyes slid back to Emily. Here is what will happen. You will sign an annulment. You will leave Korea. And you will forget every moment of this. Emily forced herself to meet that cold, piercing stare. I'm not signing anything. The air tightened as if the city itself inhaled. Mrs. Kang's voice dropped to ice. If you refuse, I will end the internship that brought you here. I will blacklist you. I will ensure no firm in Asia, Europe, or the Americas hires you again. And if that is not enough, she snapped her fingers. A guard opened a tablet showing a photo of Emily's mother back in Johannesburg. Taken without her knowledge. Without consent. I will remind you that families are very fragile. A tremor ripped through Emily's body. She felt the world narrow into a single point of terror. But before she could speak, Jun Seo moved. Not slowly. Not gently. Like a man breaking chains. Touch her family, he said in a voice Emily had never heard before, and I will burn every alliance you have left. Mrs. King stared at him, shocked. You would choose her over your blood? His answer was razor sharp. I choose what is right. It was the first blow in a war he had never dared fight. Mrs. King's expression twisted not in rage, but in something deeper, uglier. Fear. She turned to leave, but Emily stepped forward, not hiding behind anyone, not bowing, not flinching. You can threaten my job, my safety, my future, Emily said, her voice shaking but steady, but you don't get to decide my worth. Mrs. King stopped, slowly turning her head. Emily continued, her voice rising, I won't break for you. I won't run. I won't be your puppet. Something ancient and defiant blazed in her eyes. And I won't give back something the lineage chose. For the first time, the formidable matriarch faltered, just once, before masking it again. This is not over, she whispered and swept out, leaving a storm in her wake. Silence fell. Real, heavy, dangerous. Jun Seo turned to Emily, searching her face as if seeing her for the first time. You challenged her. I challenged both of you, she corrected breathlessly. I'm not a chess piece. He stepped closer. Emily, you might save us all. I didn't come here to save you, she whispered. I came to build buildings. Then build this with me, he murmured. A new dynasty. A new order. One without corruption. She stared at him, breathless, torn, furious, and uncomfortably aware of the truth she didn't want to admit. She was no longer just a bystander. She was already in deep. Too deep. I don't trust you, she said quietly. Not yet. Jun Seo nodded. Then let me earn it. And somewhere in the city, lightning cracked as if marking the beginning of a war. Emily didn't know whether she was joining a revolution, running toward danger, or falling into something far more powerful than fear, but she knew one thing with absolute certainty. Nothing about her life would ever go back to normal, because the most dangerous man in Seoul had chosen her, and she had chosen not to bow.